Hey, what's up, guys? It's Moonstone here with my first story time video. So if you guys want to see more of this content, drop a like, subscribe if you want to see it. So I was sophomore year of high school, maybe 16. Stayed after school for a concert or a football game or something, and one of my friends came up to me and he said, "Hey, so this girl, she's obviously been hitting on me and stuff. I'm not really looking for a girlfriend right now, but if you're trying to look at her, if you're trying to take a look at her, then be my guest. Here's her phone number." And I was like, okay, yes, friend, I'm gonna take this girl who's talking to you and talk to her now. That's totally a smart thing to do when you obviously don't want to be with her. And I took her phone number. So we talked to this girl, and she's nice, she's cute, she's really sweet and everything. So I decided that after a few days, let's go on our first date. So we go on our first date at City Walk in Universal Studios Orlando, and we're walking around there. I'm buying her food, drinks. We're eating some nachos. Really good plate of nachos, by the way. They have at the restaurant next to the movie theater. I don't know what it's called, but yeah, we got our nachos. Went around. We're sitting there walking, and we're about to leave. Sun's going down, and she's like, "Oh, hey, do you want to meet my dad?" And I was like, "Wait, what? Your dad? Your dad works here?" And she was like, "Yeah, he works security at a nightclub." And I'm like, "Oh shit, this guy's that's no joke." And I'm like, "Well, I'm gonna have to meet him someday eventually, so I might as well." So we went over to like this weird area between buildings. It was pretty dark, and she walks up this little staircase and knocks on a metal door. And this what opens the door is this big ass white buff dude, bald head. He looks at her and says, "Hey, sweetie, who's this?" And I'm like, "Oh shit, this guy's about to fucking rip my toes off." So I'm not too excited about that, but she explains to me that she's going out with me now, and he's like, "Oh, that's fine. Just treat her nicely, and we won't have any problems." I'm like, "Oh yes, sir. I'm not gonna. Yeah, no, I'm not fucking with you." So kind of find out this guy's also the head honcho of martial arts facility over here in Florida. So that was pretty spooky. And so things were going fine with me and her for a little bit. We were it was going good. I was being called by her quite a bit, and I wasn't really too big on that. Like whenever I would play a video game or something, I'd be out there playing Counter Strike or Siege or something. She would just constantly be calling me when I told her like, "Hey, I'm over here playing my game. Could I call you a little bit later?" She's like, "Oh no, that's not an excuse. We need to talk now." I'm like, "Okay, what the fuck?" And like when I was taking a shit or something, she'd come out and she'd trying to talk to me. I'm like, "I'm taking a shit." She's like, "Well, you can still talk to me." I'm like, "No, I could, but I'm not going to." And she wasn't really too happy about that, but I didn't care. But it got to the point where she was calling constantly, at least 3 times an hour, and if I didn't answer, it would be more. And I was starting to get fed up with it. I wasn't liking it too much. So I broke up with her. And being the shitty person I was back then, I didn't like tell it to her straight in her face. I was kind of a pussy. So I just kind of ghosted her. Felt really wrong. So yeah, her her dad actually called me about a week after I stopped talking to her, and he said, "Hey, buddy, so if you're just not gonna talk to my daughter like that, we're gonna have some problems. If you're gonna break up with her, pussy." And I said, "Oh, yes, sir. I'll do that." So I text her and I'm like, "Hey, so I'm just not feeling it with you. Like, you were really nice and all, but it was just too much clinginess, you know?" And she was not having it. She was like, "No, you can't break up with me." And I'm like, "Well, I am." And she was like, "Okay, you're gonna regret this." I'm like, "What do you mean by that?" I was like, "You better not send your buff ass dad over here to beat me up. I'll literally fucking die, rip my toes off or some shit. I don't want that." So things were going fine for a little bit. About a week goes by. Everything was going okay until like one day when I was coming home from school, came into my house, did my normal routine of grabbing a bag of popcorn, popping that, walking around with a soda or something, eating that, and then going to my room, taking a nap or something. But when I walked around the house, I looked out one of the windows, and who else was standing there other than my fucking ex, right there, walking down the sidewalk and just being creepy and shit. But that normally wouldn't be a problem, other than the fact that she lives 15 minutes away from my house, and she had no business being in my neighborhood. So that was kind of sketching me out. I wasn't gonna do anything about it if this was like the only time, because like maybe she would just want to like see me one more time. I don't know. But this shit happened for a week. And so finally I walked out and I said, you're gonna have to stop coming around my house or I'm calling the cops. And she said, oh no you won't. You wouldn't do that to me. You love me. And I said, I'm not going out with you anymore. This just isn't working. I can't deal with the clinginess. She's like, oh, you're gonna regret this. She said that again and then walked off. I'm like, I'm still gonna call the cops if you come back. And guess what? She came back. So I called the police. I told them it wasn't an urgent thing. It was me more wanting her to just stop coming. So they came over. They talked to her. She said, "Okay, I won't come back anymore." And yeah, the police talked to her and everything. I think everything's fine now. I don't know. I do keep hearing weird ass noises out my window at night, so definitely watching out for that. Obviously, isn't following me anymore though. Has been like 3 years. So yeah, that was the story of my crazy ass ex girlfriend, and I hope you all liked it. So if you did, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. See ya.